welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from news and headlines, comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and today we are going through sector number 470 with Bobby this week. Welcome back, Bobby.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Welcome, Brokettes, to another episode.
For anyone that's new to the podcast, the way we format the show is first, the majority of the show is made up of news, and then we head and close out with the Broket block, which is the more personal side of the podcast, what Bobby and I have been doing, playing, reading, whatever it may be this week. So let's jump right in. First news story this week, it comes from DC. This was a story that Tom Taylor was teasing for quite a while. People were saying, okay, what's this mean? What's it stand for? He gave the hint of DKOST, and a lot of people were guessing all kinds of different titles. Obviously, Dark Knight or Dark Knights was a part of it, and the title of it is Dark Knights of Steel. It is a medieval reimagining of the DC Universe starring Batman, Superman, Harley Quinn, Black Lightning, Wonder Woman, and more. According to Tom Taylor, he had been working on this series. This is going to be a 12-issue maxi series, and he's been working on it for the past 2 years. We got some preview pages and covers that they debuted online with this story, and I do have to say it does look great. Tom Taylor definitely shines when he does these multiverse different takes on the DC universe like he did previously with Deceased.
Yeah, I saw that too. It looks pretty neat. It'd be interesting to see how that shakes out. It's definitely a different take. You know, like recently we just had Dark Knight's Metal. So that was one way of, interpreting everything. So it'll be interesting to see how he does it with this. Like, I like Tom Taylor. Like, he's recently on Nightwing, and I think he's handling that pretty well. I think it looked like there was overall good feedback so far, as far as I saw on Twitter when he announced it. The fact that he's been working on this for 2 years, holy crap.
Even the character designs fit perfectly with that era, and I do enjoy that they are able to do something different with these characters, and Tom Taylor is one of those writers that they need to hang on to. They're losing people like James Tynion, Scott Snyder, and Tom Taylor's like the other big one in there right now. I don't know how things are with Tom King, but he's their next all-star writer that they really should hang on to.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if they want to try to put a story out there that's going to stick and try to keep and grab new readership. The fact that this includes like Black Lightning hasn't really been included in a lot of major titles or anything. So taking a character like that and including him with the Trinity is pretty interesting.
I know the show was pretty popular for a little while there, but obviously it didn't go on as long as the other CW shows or even the comic book that they tried to do not too long ago. Didn't really work out too well. The other history of the DC universe had a little bit of him in there, but he's one of those characters like most comic characters where sometimes they're better as a part of a team rather than front and center of their own book. Not every character can carry their own title. It does take quite a bit. But another writer that is also heading a DC book, this one was unexpected for me, is Danny DeVito of all places. He's going to be contributing to the Gotham City Villains Giant #1 with a Penguin-centric story. And this story is going to be in the Villains Anniversary, which marks the celebration of the Penguin's 80th anniversary. He first debuted in 1941's Detective Comics #58.
Danny DeVito, so the original Penguin from the Batman movies, is going to contribute to this. I think that's pretty interesting. Is he the writer, or is he just like contributing as in like maybe a small story within that bigger book?
So that's what it is. He's writing a story in that book.
Gotcha. Yeah, because those larger books usually have breakouts of like 6 or 7 stories or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. The fact that he's being involved in that. Penguin is pretty regular in the Batman books in the regular Batman title as well as Detective Comics. He's always there doing something. So the fact that they're focusing on him, because usually we hear a lot about the other villains, they like disappear and come back, as Joker, for instance. Mm-hmm. But having the Penguin, who's always relevant, just doesn't isn't always involved in the main story is pretty cool. So that'd be neat to see what he does.
And I think one of the preview pages they showed was the Tim Burton version of the Penguin. So it will be either a retelling of sorts or maybe what he would have done with the character if they continued. It's going to be fun to see how they celebrate his version of the Penguin and someone like him who is behind it. And I know he gets overshadowed by people like Jack Nicholson who came right before him, more recently Jared Leto and Heath Ledger, and you also have Joaquin Phoenix. Is like there's a lot of these very strong actors that have portrayed Batman villains throughout. We've been really lucky that we've had so many strong performances, and I think the one that Danny DeVito pulled out in Batman Returns is more overlooked than it should be, and so is Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Like those were two very strong villain performances, and not just in Batman's universe, but I think they pulled out some strong acting. You could might even make an argument. I don't know what all went for nominations on the Academy Awards that year, but these are performances that maybe any other year would have gone up for a couple of supporting roles.
Oh, 100% agree. That movie was, I don't want to say revolutionary, but like it's just a really good movie for its time. I think it's aged okay. It's different take on the movie. I kind of had like a dark Batman. Penguin was ruthless in that movie, and Jack Nicholson playing the Joker was great. And yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer did an excellent job as Catwoman. I think that movie was very well done for what it was.
You had mentioned how dark the Batman Returns film was. That's one of those history moments where we look back on and kind of like history repeats itself, where Warner Brothers saw Batman and then the darker turn that Batman Returns took, and they were like, we're trying to sell Happy Meals, and you got Penguin biting off people's noses and bleeding all over the place in the end, talking about Catwoman being the pussy he's been looking for, and all of those things. That it's like that's when they decided to go in that change of direction with Batman Forever, in spite of how well Batman Returns did, and it did great. But that's when they brought on Schumacher and made him lighten it up even more for Batman and Robin. And I know for years he got blamed for killing the Batman franchise, but now looking back on it, it turns out that it was all Warner Brothers telling him, we got the Schumacher cut somewhere out there for Batman Forever, and then Batman and Robin, he was basically told, try to make it lighter like the Adam West movies, and maybe he took it literally and tried to make like an Adam West movie when it came to Batman and Robin. But it's just funny how history does repeat itself, and especially when it comes to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, because Batman Forever and Batman and Robin definitely got much lighter. I thought when we got to Forever, it was really jokey, especially the fact that they put on those characters. You had Jim Carrey as the Riddler and Arnold as Mr. Freeze. What's her name as Poison Ivy. So definitely a different tone from the first two films going into the second two. Definitely changed the way that those films are perceived, at least in my opinion.
And we do have some more comic book news this week, and this is something that a lot of people will argue, a lot of DC fans will argue against. But, money talks. Based on the November 2021 solicitations, over half of DC's books will star or feature Batman or the Bat family. We've got the Robin's book. We got the Damian Wayne one still going, Nightwing. I think he's starring in another Bat family book. So over half of them are Batman books, and I will tell you the books that do sell tend to be the Batman ones. He is DC's most popular character, so they're going to go ahead and print the books that are going to sell and are going to move. However, there are a lot of readers that maybe don't read as much Batman, but are fans of other characters like Wonder Woman or Superman, who did have a problem and do have a problem with how many Batman books there are in general. So what's your take on that as an avid comic reader? Do you think that there's too much Batman right now, or Bat family, or do you think that they're doing a business decision here?
So I'm a little biased because I do read the Bat books. I read Batman, Detective Comics, Robin, and Nightwing. Previously read Batgirl or Batwoman. I intend to enjoy those as well. So this definitely looks like a business decision. Clearly, and you would know better, like you see the sales. I think the DC Bat books sell better. Mm-hmm. Everything gravitates towards Batman. And you have to also think like the movies that we get when it comes to film are usually Batman. We've had our Wonder Woman, we've had our Superman, but Batman titles get made more regularly. Like we've had what, 4, 3, 7, 8 movies of Batman so far over the course of time. So, like, and then Superman, Batman, so 9, and then we're about to get another one.
Right, and not
So,
even counting the animated ones.
right, and then those too, like those get pumped out like crazy, and those are usually Batman titles
Yeah.
or involving Batman. So clearly they know what they're. It's just like Marvel. The Marvel equation is like how much can we do with Spider-Man?
Right.
Spider-Man needs to be in freaking everything because he's a household character. He's on toys, he's on books, he's on children's books, he's in comics, he's in your bathtub with the toys. Like it's everywhere. Your toothbrush. So they do the same thing with the Trinity, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. And yeah, Superman's been super popular. But I think we've seen this shift to Batman recently where it's just like Batman's cool. He doesn't have superpowers. He's just really, really cool. I don't know. It's pretty hard to understand, but like, or difficult to understand. But I think this is a business decision because they know where the money's at. Like they know Batman brings in the money, so it's like, okay, well let's put some more into the books because we know we're not selling this much and that much because they would just cut their titles again recently. So if they're doing more Batman titles, then they're hoping that they're going to make the money off of what they cut. If I was on the other side of that and I didn't like Batman, let's say I just like Superman, maybe I'd be a little irritated with that, but I don't know. I can't speak for that because I'm not on that side, but I think it's interesting. We'll see how it goes. As long as they don't oversaturate and some of that stuff is crap, then we'll be fine.
And I think over time, a lot of that will weed itself out. And I noticed that a lot of the solicitations, and this goes for both Marvel and DC, they've kind of had this business plan over the last almost year of just pumping out a bunch of mini-series or maxi-series as opposed to ongoings. Like when Dan DiDio was running it, he would say, okay, well, if there's a demand for a Poison Ivy title, let's go ahead and try an ongoing. And he would just go straight into ongoings. Whereas now, and it makes it difficult for me as a retailer because ordering new books is always hard. So when you're having a bunch of new titles that are mini-series coming up constantly, it's like, all right, now it's another number one to order for. And some people have said that this is a better route to just do, self-contained stories, have them do their run, have the authors tell their story, and then relaunch it with a new title. And it's not necessarily even a relaunch, but just having a new number one. And a lot of these November titles are limited, so I'm not as concerned about that, but I know that if these limited titles continue to do well, just like the Joker ones, when they did the DC Black Label books, those sold like crazy, and because of that, we're still getting titles like Joker, A Puzzle Box, the Joker ongoing right now, and the one that also just debuted was Suicide Squad Get Joker. So the money is going to continue to flow with Joker, Batman, the Batman villains, not even DC villains, the Rogues Gallery for Batman alone. You can do an imprint of comics on just them. And the same goes with Spider-Man. His villains are very strong. And this is why I think these two characters, it's not just because of Bruce Wayne and Peter Parker, but they have these amazing villains that help enrich their story.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree that they're just following the money cookie crumbs all over the place. Like you said it, the Joker books, the Black Labels did really well. So they see the numbers. They pretty much they made the decision to go forward with, okay, well, if this is working, let's try this. Maybe not all of them will work. I think the approach of small titles or small runs are good. I think when they go past 8 to 12, that's a little rough. Mm-hmm. But I think if they keep it to 3 to 5, that's fine. Unless they're Black Label, because then they're bigger books and they can do 3. I've enjoyed a few of those. I haven't read most of them, but overall, I've seen they've gotten very good feedback. The artwork tends to be really good in them as well. So they definitely spend the time to flesh those out and make them worthwhile. So I'm really invested into reading the Robins and Batman. So I'm looking forward to what's happening in November with the Robin, and that I want to see that Robin and Batman book. What sticks out to me is it's called Robin and Batman instead of Batman and Robins. So that's pretty cool. And then the other one with all the Robins, because they're trying to figure out who the first Robin was. And apparently the argument between Dick, Jason, and Tim, and of course Damian, it's not them. Someone appears in the shadows and says, no, I was the first Robin. So we don't know who that is, so we'll find out.
Sounds like a new character, maybe a deep cuts pull from one of the old Detective Comics somewhere, some older character. And I don't know. We'll find out. It is very exciting, though. It It really is, and I like these Batman books, as you said. I'm biased as well, and I did recently drop Detective Comics. I gave Peter, as soon as Peter J. Tomasi got off, I gave the new writer a couple of issues, and then it didn't do it for me. But I am still excited for Batman and what they do with the characters, and these line of Robin books do look like a lot of fun. But someone that is very successful with their independent superhero, if you want to call them that, not Marvel or not DC, they have carved their own path. They started off and did work for both companies. They co-created Venom as we know him today with Eddie Brock. But Todd McFarlane's Spawn, just coming off of the record-setting Spawn Universe #1 from earlier this summer, Image Comics and Todd have confirmed that the upcoming King Spawn #1 has reached almost 500,000 pre-orders, which is huge in today's comic market.
Yeah, I saw this and I couldn't believe it. What world are we in right now? That's insane. Has any other book reached status like that recently? I don't think I remember hearing that for any type of book that was pre-ordered.
I think they were saying that Detective 1000 did really, really well. And I don't think this one did as many pre-orders as that, but it's one of those titles where it's on that level of some of the best-selling books in the last 5 years.
That's incredible. I guess my other question with that would be with Detective 1000 as well as the Superman, whatever number that was, the milestone.
Action 1000, yeah.
Yeah, Action 1000. Those had 1 billion variants. So is King Spawn going to have 1 billion variants, and that's what's contributing because somebody's ordering there's 20 variants, so they ordered 20 variants at $20 a piece.
Right, and that's something that's a huge distinction to make because this is going to have a lot of variants, retailer exclusives, and as always, these are not books that customers bought. It's anyone that's unfamiliar with the comic market. These are number of copies sold to retailers, and a lot of publishers view retailers as the customers, but then the retailers then sell them to customers to make up that money for buying all of those copies. So I know I went conservative initially on King Spawn #1, and then the boss man told me, hey, why don't you just juice these numbers up by another, I think 40 copies it was. So I didn't get every single cover. I did get more than, I initially was like, okay, I have some pre-orders on covers A, B, and D, for example. That's how I do all my pre-orders. If I've had pre-orders on a variant, I'm like, okay, if these customers are pre-ordering it, I can probably sell some shelf copies. This cover had 0 pre-orders on it, so I'm probably not going to order any shelf copies. And that's how I keep my shelves tight. That's how I keep my ordering tight as well. I don't want to lose money on these books on covers that aren't going to sell, that I'm going to have in the bins forever or discount out at some point. So King Spawn, though, I was told hey, why don't we juice these numbers up, hit that 100 mark and get that 1 in 100 variant, which I know we probably will sell. I have a couple of comic collectors that will jump at those $100 to $200 variants. So that will make up for some of those extra copies that we end up ordering for King Spawn #1, which comes out in about 2 weeks now.
Oh, wow. Right around the corner. It'll be interesting to see how that does. I bet you'll sell that. If you get the 100 variant, I bet you'll sell it. You'll sell it quick, too.
I think so, too. Yeah. As long as it's not a sketch variant. Those fucking things always sit. The black and white sketch ones. Yeah. These days they don't move.
I love sketch variants, but I guess that's just me. Yeah, it depends on how they look, too, I guess. If they're too bland, I wouldn't touch it, but I tend to collect those.
It's even worse when they're inked variants because people like those even less. You can't see the pencil strokes or anything.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, I got stuck with some Skyward variants that were penciled and inked, and oh well. Someone will buy them when that's the only copy left in the bins. Like, hey, it's the only #3 you have? That's all right. I just want to read it.
Fair.
Speaking of Venom, again, a co-creation by Todd McFarlane. Through confirmation from The Hollywood Reporter, he's actually making residuals still out of all of these, which is great. Sony Pictures is delaying Venom Let There Be Carnage from September 14th to October 15th. So right around Halloween. Not a huge deal, in my opinion. I think it's not like we're seeing this in 2022. And if it does get delayed by then, I think we've seen so many movie shifts and theater closures and all of that, that it's kind of not surprising anymore. We almost expect it.
Yeah. Kind of expected at this point with movies and or video games getting delayed. I don't know why anybody would get pissed at this point or upset by it. I know there's some diehards out there that are probably disappointed, but you just have to face reality. We've been dealing this with over a year now. It's just got to expect it until it's the day that it's going to happen, or you see a premiere start happening, then you're good to go. I personally, this is my opinion, I don't think it's October 15th is going to stick either. I think that's going to get pushed further. I think we're going to see a lot of damage with movies getting pushed further and further into 2022. And the reason why I say that is because you got to look out for the areas, the main metropolitan areas that bring in that money. They're under vaccine passport guidelines right now. Like New York just started theirs yesterday. So, and that protects movie theaters. You have to have a passport in order to go to the movie theater. So that's going to affect this industry in different ways. And that's just the U.S. Well, what about the different countries? China's under lockdown right now again. So is Australia. So if they're looking at the numbers and they know where they're going to pull their money, then that's what's going to affect pushing this movie around. They're also not releasing it digital. It's going to be straight to theaters only. So they have to focus on that. If that's their focus, then they got to contribute to where are people going to go see our movie and where can we maximize making our money?
Right, maximize that profit, especially.
Yep.
I'm excited for Let There Be Carnage. I'm not a big fan of Carnage, but this is, as you and I talked about this before, they got me when they put Tom Hardy on there, and now they got Woody Harrelson in there, and I'm like, shit, man, two strong actors. And I like the first one too, so I'm in for Let There Be Carnage, and the effects look great on Carnage. It looks like straight out of the comics.
You could just throw Blade in there, and then we'll get White Man Can't Jump. We're good.
Oh my God, that's true.
And then in the middle of it, it's a crossover, and
Yes.
Montoya shows up, and
Yes.
it's definitely White Man Can't Jump.
Yes, I knew. I was hoping. Yep. I'm glad you made that connection too, because I was about, and I'm like, oh, he went there. He knows. Amazing.
For all of you that have not watched White Man Can't Jump, if you're not old enough, go back and watch that. It's a great movie. I think it's on HBO Max. It's a classic movie. A lot of us enjoyed that back in the day. Stars Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, and Rosie.
It definitely was on HBO Max. I don't know if it still is, but it'll rotate back in if not. Last weekend was MegaCon. I don't think you or I ended up attending. For me, It was the guest list. I knew it was going to be trash. I knew the convention wasn't going to be what I was looking for. It wasn't going to be for me. And I said it before on the podcast with Scott last week. If you're there for cosplayers, then great. It's a great convention. Cosplayers were there. But for all of us who are there to get comic sketches or signatures or whatever it may be, there was cancellations left and right. But someone who did not cancel, and I was surprised about this, was Ray Fisher. He ended up going to MegaCon. That's a guest that I definitely would have wanted to see. I would have wanted to meet Ron Perlman along with my sister, who ended up getting her Deathstroke signature from him. She met him finally because he canceled last time he was going to show up, and he showed up this time. But Ray Fisher did end up coming out. He had a panel at Comic-Con, and during the Q&A, he was asked if he was going to return as Cyborg in the films and what it would take. And he responded with, quote, "For me, I think it all starts with an apology coming from the Warner Brothers side of things. There's a lot of really gnarly stuff that has gone down, especially publicly. What Walter Hamada and Warner Brothers Pictures attempted to do, professionally and personally, during one of the most crucial years for Black people in the history of humanity is just unacceptable. I definitely will not be supporting any Walter Hamada productions, period. And it's a tough thing because I'm a DC fan through and through. I love these characters, but sometimes you gotta give up what you love to do what's right." End quote.
Sticking to it. He's doubling down, and you got to give him credit for it. We've all given him credit for him all this time for sticking to his guns, and ask the public comment like that. He's definitely not backing down. And you said it, and everybody else has said it constantly. Like, Hamada needs to go, and some others need to go. Will that happen? Who knows? Like with this Discovery merger, maybe that's the time that it'll happen. But we just need to wait for that time, whenever it is. Good for him. Good for him for sticking to it. You can't knock that at all. The suffer of getting him back in that role. Hopefully this wraps up at some point soon, and then he can get reeled back in and all will be well. We'll see.
That's one of the things that we are hoping for with, as you mentioned, the Discovery merger. And if not, this is the crazy thing for me, Bobby. And I know that we've seen this for the last couple of years, and the other side won't budge either. They're calling it it's not even the Hamada verse anymore. Now we're calling it the flop verse, because it's just like, this is how they're performing. They're flop movies, and Discovery's going to look at that and say, why are you running this? Why is Toby there? We're going to put our guys there. And that's when people like Zach and David Ayer can present to them and say, okay, well, here's how much our movies made. And our, the Snyder Cut that got re-released, it was successful. And so that it's like a long-term play. And I think I'm hoping that things work out well. But for Ray Fisher, there's a couple of things here that people took from this. And of course, he got dragged online from not even the other side, but from DCEU fans, people that think you have to support the Hamadaverse and to make the Snyderverse happen, or people that just want to watch everything DC in spite of what it means to support people like Hamada and the rest of these enablers. So it kind of got things stirring again. And one of the things that he was said is he's not going to support any of the Hamada production. So that includes Aquaman 2, the Batman, the Flash that's coming out that he was originally attached to. And we've all been like, yeah, people like me, people in the RTSC movement too, have been like, we're not going to support, we're going to vote with our dollar. We don't want to see this new side of DC movies. We don't want to see movies like The Suicide Squad or Wonder Woman 1984, where they're trying to make them into the MCU. And that's not what we signed up for. We signed up for what Man of Steel started, what Christopher Nolan started. That's the tone that should have continued throughout. So we're also not supporting the Hamadaverse, and people can do what they would like. But, we're standing there with Ray Fisher. And to all these people that tweet out, I stand with Ray Fisher, yet they're going to go see The Flash. Think about that for a second, because that doesn't add up there. You can't say I stand with Ray Fisher and then go to theaters and watch The Suicide Squad, or pull up HBO Max and watch The Suicide Squad. You're missing the point completely. You've got to vote with your dollar, your streaming numbers. I won't even pirate these things. So that's my take on it right now.
Yeah, a lot of it is just, this is popular, let me do it, because they hang out on social media. So they're just going to pile in. But they don't have the logic to support it fully and what it means. They don't understand fully what it means. So it's just like, I'm going to click this retweet and reply on it because it's toxic and that's what I want to do, and then lose sight of everything else because I still want to go see The Flash. So just like you said. So that's unfortunately how the world we live in these days, but it is what it is, sadly.
You ended up adding a stock of Pokemon news. We had the Pokemon Presents that went up this week, and this is kind of like the Nintendo Direct, basically.
Yeah, so it was a Pokemon Presents. It was on Wednesday, the 18th, so you're listening to this either early on Sunday on the weekend after or the following Monday. Here's a quick recap for you on a couple things that they updated. It was like 26 minutes. It wasn't very long, but they did get straight to the point on some of the things that a lot of Pokemon fans wanted to see and hear. So we finally got an update on some Pokemon Go updates for the 5th year anniversary. For those of you that play Pokemon Go out there, the Ultra Unlock event began this past Friday. So there's some details out there for that. Feel free to look it up. I'm not going to explore it here because I know we don't talk about it too much here, and it's kind of not important anyway. It's just some new Pokemon they released. Pokemon Cafe, I know I think you or Kelly had played that for a little bit. It's one of those matching games where you have to, it's all the heads of the Pokemon. Little neat game.
Yeah, Kelly was playing it, but she got frustrated at the progression of it, where you had to basically buy money or spend money to continue playing or whatever. And she's like, I got tired of waiting, and I'm not going to put money into this.
They did change that. They changed that a while back, probably right up like a while after she stopped playing. So it does have a timer effect on it, but it's pretty long. Yeah, you can spend money in there, but you don't need to at this point. It's just grindy, and it gets kind of difficult. But they're doing an update in the fall, and it's going to be called, they're changing the name slightly. It's going to be Pokemon Cafe Remix. And what they're doing is they're adding in a bunch of different outfits for your different Pokemon that you can employ at the cafe, and adjustments to gameplay, etc. So I have it. I play it randomly. I don't really play it that much anymore because it's really difficult. There's a lot of RNG with it too, so I don't like games that have high RNG and are difficult. So, but for some, maybe even Kelly, like the outfits they're adding in are pretty cute. I'm sure some Pokemon fans will really enjoy that. They can put them on the Pokemon while they're in the cafe. One of the big ones was for Diamond and Pearl. We haven't really got any info on that, and they addressed some things today. So we got to see some gameplay. It will be released on November 19th. We knew that. So they showed a bunch of gameplay. If you want, make sure you go check out the video so you can see the gameplay. There's screen caps out there, all sorts of stuff. There's new features in the game, which is you got Professor Rowan and Team Galactic, which is from the Sinnoh region. The new feature that is new completely is the Grand Underground. So the whole map of Sinnoh is going to have an underground, like dungeon-style area. And you can go through that area and encounter Pokemon that are in the Sinnoh region. They also led to the fact that to fill your decks, you will have to explore the underground. So that's pretty neat that is an altering game experience, because that didn't exist in the original Diamond and Pearl, and they put it in here and moved some Pokemon down there. So that's pretty cool. Looks like that's a mechanic, or not a mechanic, a gameplay function that will give that game some higher replay value even after you finish the story. There's super contest shows, so I know LGG will enjoy that. Julian will probably be all over this because you can take your Pokemon and do like rhythm dance games with your Pokemon. So I'm sure he'll be involved in that. We might see that one on his streams. There's a Union Room, which is a multiplayer meetup room, and Capsule Decoration, which I believe is new. What you can do is you can put stickers on your Pokeballs for Pokemon that you've captured. And then what happens is when you throw your Pokeball out for battle, when they break out of the capsule, there's a different animation that you'll see each time, depending on what stickers you put on that capsule. So if you put a bunch of sparkler things on there, when it bursts out, you'll see like fireworks. So I think that's pretty cool. It gives you a lot of personalization. They showed the character customization. You can put outfits on and things like that. So I think that's new as well. That's more of something from Sword and Shield that's moved on. So overall, I think it looks great. They said it was a 1-for-1 copy over. Definitely enhanced. So it does look better from what we can see. The next item they showed was a Diamond and Pearl Special Edition Nintendo Switch Lite. That's going to be on November 5th. If anybody's after a special edition Nintendo Switch Lite, you'll have a Diamond and Pearl edition if you want.
There was a rumor, and did they confirm this? A lot of people were speculating that there was going to be a new form for Palkia and Dialga. Did that not come true?
They didn't show any of that. The only time we saw them was at the end when they did the animation for the title screens leading into the box art. So it's possible, I guess, but they still really haven't shown those two outside the box arts animation that they have. Pokemon Unite is already out. If you don't already have it, it's on the Switch. They did announce the mobile version that does link up with the Switch version, so you can play. It is cross-platform, and the mobile launch is going to be on September 22nd. They did announce that if you go in and pre-register now on the app or Play Store, if they get 2.5 million total reached for pre-order or pre-register, I should say, because it is free. Players will get the license for Pikachu, so you'll get Pikachu for free. If they get to 5 million, you'll get a HoloWare Festival-style Pikachu. So that's pretty much an outfit that you get for Pikachu. So that's pretty cool, to giving out some free stuff. I'm pretty sure they'll hit those numbers. They've hit higher numbers with Sword and Shield for max raids when they do events over the weekends. Mm-hmm. So that's easily attainable. But Unite has exploded. It came out like 3 weeks ago, and it's super popular. So I recommend to anybody that has a Switch. It's free. Just go download it. Give it a try. It's pretty neat. A lot of people like to call it a MOBA. I don't like to call it a MOBA. I like to call it basketball. It's Pokemon with basketball. It's pretty much what it is. They added Gardevoir about 2 weeks ago. So the roster had 20 Pokemon. They added Gardevoir. Blissey just got added on Wednesday, the 18th. So now there's 22 Pokemon in the roster. Actually, 23, because you do get my next point. I'll get to that in a second. And then coming soon, they announced that there's Mamoswine and Sylveon coming to the roster. One of the bonus Pokemon that you can get, as long as you log in through October on the Switch or on mobile, starting on the 22nd of September, you can get Zeraora for free. So essentially that gives us playable characters right now, 23. And then with the 2 more they'll add soon, I'd go to 25. Blastoise is still missing. He was in the original trailer artwork, so Blastoise is coming. We'll get him at some point. So
I think Gengar was
26.
too, right?
Gengar is in there. He's part of the roster.
So he's already in there.
Yeah, he's already in there. Gengar is pretty freaking good. He's broken. Actually, to be honest, they're all broken in their own different ways. They're just, their abilities are so good, and that's what makes the game good, because and diverse. No matter what you play, everybody's playing with a character that's pretty good, so they all counteract each other in that way. So it's pretty neat. They did confirm. They made sure to put this in there because this was going to start up really big in a storm of conspiracies of what VGC was going to be for competitive when Diamond and Pearl come out, as well as Arceus. And they did confirm that competitive VGC battles will remain in Sword and Shield. So for all of you that were wondering if Diamond and Pearl was going to pick up and take on the mantle of competitive VGC for Pokemon, that is not the case. So it's going to stick with Sword and Shield.
You think that means that you won't be able to move a majority of your Pokemon over to Diamond and Pearl then?
What that means, it's going to be the other way around. You'll be able to move your. That was actually one of the other announcements. I actually didn't include it on here. Pokemon Home will support Diamond and Pearl remakes as well as Legends Arceus in 2022. So what that means is those 3 games, you can import those Pokemon into Pokemon Home and then move them into Sword and Shield if you wanted to, as long as they're in the Sword and Shield region, which is roughly I think it's 650 Pokemon that are available in that game at the moment. You won't be able to go backwards unless they're already in that region. So for instance, Palkia. I got a Palkia from distribution from a couple years ago at Best Buy or GameStop, whatever it is. Since he'll be in one of those games or exists in those games, I can move him from Home back into the new versions of Diamond and Pearl because he exists in that Pokedex, that region. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like with Pikachu Go, Eevee, and Pikachu, where they couldn't. That wasn't the new meta. It ended up still being X and Y. I think it was at the time. Might have still been Sword and Shield.
Yeah, it just depends on if they exist in that dex. If they do, then you can move into that game. That's what's cool about Home. Home will serve as a new hub to move Pokemon around from the different games, as long as they exist in those regions. The other major announcement in that was Pokemon Legends Arceus. There's been a lot of controversy around this, a lot of hot takes, people, speculating and hating on it or loving it because the 2 times they showed it to us, they showed very little, and clearly it was early work on the game. So the fact that we got this much information this time is really cool because it kind of answered a lot of the questions we were waiting for. So the hype is real. Legends Arceus will be out on January 28th, 2022. They showed a ton of gameplay, mission, quest-based discovery of Pokemon, habitats, and then to unlock Dex and region. What that means is it still takes place in the area of Sinnoh, but it's this new area called Hisui region. It's 100 years before what then becomes Sinnoh. I forgot the mountain that's there. Do you remember the mountain that's there?
No.
Mount whatever. Doesn't matter. Well, there's a mountain in the center of Sinnoh, and that mountain's still there. It's referenced in this game as well. What's neat that they showed is that it's kind of functioning like an open world game, but it won't because it's got pockets, and those pockets are like the habitats where the Pokemon are. So the snow region, the fire region, the grass region, the open plains version or desert, things like that. And what you need to do is, it's not your traditional Pokemon game where you go and you just go catch the Pokemon and move on, or you battle them and then catch them. You're going to be able to wander around open world as your trainer and then hide in the grass and just throw a Pokeball at it and catch it. And then you're done. Or encounter them and then you can battle them and have your normal battles and then throw a Pokeball at it at that point. What's neat is when you go back to these camps, the trainer there or the professor will give you missions and they'll have a whole bunch of tasks. And those tasks revolve around, let's say you're trying to catch a Squavit. And the Squavit, in order to learn more about its environment, to catch it, you have to observe it. It kind of like Pokemon Snap without taking pictures, because you'll have to observe it while hiding in the grass, watching it eat a fruit or something, or watch to see where it goes, where it hides, catch one while it's got its back turned to you, things like that. And when you do these tasks, you'll be able to unlock it in your dex. So it's like a mission quest-based system to discover the Pokemon for your dex, which I think is pretty neat. And yes, it has the open world approach, but it's not. It doesn't look like a full open world game from what we can tell in the trailer. It does take place in this new Hisui region. Each one of those pocket habitats has a base camp in it. That's what it looks like. They did show some menus while they were in the camp, and you can craft Pokeballs. Normally instead you go to vendor and you have to buy them.
Right.
You'll be able to craft Pokeballs. So that's pretty cool. It's got that Breath of the Wild approach. That's neat. You'll be able to restore your health there, be able to restore the health of your Pokemon as well. So something new that they showed, interesting and new to Pokemon, your trainer can be attacked by wild Pokemon, and you can faint. They did show that as the trainer. So if you're out there hiding in the grass and there's a Luxray out there, and he sees you and he can attack you, and he will attack your trainer, your character, and you can faint.
Can you punch it back or anything like that?
From what they showed, the trainer was running, so I don't think you can fight. What you can do is you can throw a Pokemon out to fight it. You can capture wild Pokemon without a Pokemon encounter. Kind of went off to that earlier. It looks like there's a lot of stealth based involved, hiding from the Pokemon so you can throw a ball at them. Cursor shows up, crosshair, so you can throw your Pokeball. There's new forms that they showed for regional Pokemon in the Hisuian region.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Weirdeer. Weirdeer evolves from Stantler. There's a Basculogen, which evolves from Basculin. There's a Hisuian Braviary, which evolves from Rowlet. No, that's
Rowlet's the green lion. I mean, regardless, is the pre-evolution going to have a new form, or do they evolve into something else based on that particular time period?
Nope, it's the original form. It's just when it evolves. So when you have a Stantler, you can evolve a Stantler. Usually you can't. Stantler is It's just Deerling and then Stantler. That's it. Well, in this region, you'll be able to take your Stantler and evolve it into a Weirdeer. And a Weirdeer is the Hisuian form, so it'll look different. It has bigger horns, it has fluffier mane on it, and everything like that. Same thing with the Basculogen, looks like a dragon-type fish. And then the Braviary evolves from Hisuian Rufflet. That's what it is. So Rufflet evolves directly into Hisuian Braviary, so it doesn't have to evolve twice. It just goes from Rufflet to Hisuian Braviary. He's really big. He's got a colorful feathers on top of his head. And then the last one is Hisuian Growlithe, and that comes from Arcanine. So you don't have to do that one twice either. It's just Arcanine, and then when it goes to Growlithe, instead of your standard Growlithe, you're going to get the Hisuian Growlithe, it's got fur over the top of his eyes and around his neck. Looks really cool.
So you get regular Growlithe, and then that evolves into this form of him?
Correct.
Interesting.
No, not twice. It's just Arcanine and then straight to Growlithe.
Well, no, Arcanine's the second one, though. Like, Growlithe's the baby form, then it's Arcanine, normally. But I thought that the Hisuian Growlithe was simply, like, we were going to have a Hisuian Arcanine as well, kind of like they did with Mr. Mime and all those other different region ones.
Yeah, you're right. I got that one backwards, that one specifically, because Growlithe is the baby, not Arcanine. Arcanine's the bigger one, so my bad.
So regular Growlithe evolves into this version, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's a little disappointing. I kind of wanted to see a fluffier version of Arcanine as well, just to see them go with the more Japanese traditional. Maybe it was Chinese. I can't remember which versions they were going for, but where the tiger has that it had that inspiration of that particular lore or mythology. But with this version of Growlithe, it looked more like your traditional depiction of that. I think it was like a god or a demon.
Yeah, it's a very Asian-inspired artwork of a dog. So I think the artwork looks good. All four of those, or four of those, you can ride them. So Weirdeer, you can ride him on his back. The Basculogen, you can ride over water. And the Braviary has like a triangle below it. You kind of like a wing glider, and he flies you. And then the Growlithe, you just ride on his back. So it's pretty cool.
All right, yeah. I think I'll probably collect the Growlithe when they do the TCG in a few years on him. So it's probably my favorite design of the four. What do you think? Which one's your favorite?
Yeah, I'll probably agree with you there. The Growlithe looks really, really cool.
Yeah, more traditional. Almost feels like it would have been an original Pokemon too from Gen 1. It just fits well. Well, great. This is a good block of Pokemon news. That's awesome. From Mr. Pokemon himself, Bobby. And this was all Bobby's additions here. So thank you, Bobby, for contributing to the notes for the news this week.
Of course. Got to bring the Pokemans.
Of course, yeah. Definitely. And that does wrap up a lot of news this week. We went from gaming to a lot of comic stuff. Sometimes comic news is a little bit lighter, but this week there were a lot of announcements. And that's not it. We're going to go into the BroCat block, which will involve Free Comic Book Day, but this is the portion of the show where we talk about what's been going on in our lives. It's the more personal side where you get to know Bobby and I a little bit better, whether it's what we've been playing, reading, what's been going on at work, what we've been watching, any of those things. So let's head into this week's BroCat block. The big one this year for me was Free Comic Book Day 2021. Last week I was still ramping up, preparing. We didn't know what to expect. It's a weird year. Nothing's going as expected ever since the shutdown. So I didn't know what was going to happen. We were either going to be really, really incredibly busy, or it was going to end up being a slower Free Comic Book Day, which is what it ended up being. This was not a Free Comic Book Day that was as successful as previous years. And the boss and I were talking, and he's like, yeah, we definitely over-ordered on these books. And I'm like, yeah, but there was no right way to order this year. We were never going to get it right. It's a weird year. We were either going to over-order or under-order. There was never going to be no, we nailed it. So we're still giving away some free comic book day books throughout the week, especially for people that missed it. They're like, hey, do you have any free books still left? So I have a table set up already of a display of free books. It's a little disappointing that it wasn't as busy as it was. And I get it. Not everyone wants to go out and get into crowds, or people were going to MegaCon this weekend. A lot of people apparently went to MegaCon, so I get that. But a little disappointing. Did you end up stopping by for Free Comic Book Day?
I didn't because I had to work. By the time I had to work late that night, I wasn't able to get over. I wanted to. And yeah, I'm willing to bet that I can't believe MegaCon fell on that this year. So I'm willing to bet that affected it a little bit. And yeah, you're right. This year's weird. Last year was weird. I didn't see it promoted that much on social media. Usually, and I'm not talking about like your store or anything. I'm talking more like on a national level. Mm-hmm. Like and I'm not counting last year either, because last year was just completely obnoxious how they did it. But yeah, of course they had to do with what was available. You go back like 2 years, and there would just be this campaign where artists and writers and people in the industry would promote it. And this year I didn't see that. Like even Marvel would promote it. The DC account would promote it, and you'd see it like from a month out. And it would just be this constant reminder, like, hey, go visit your local comic book store. And then the artists and the writers would tie it back to local stores. Hey, don't just go get free books. Pick up the free books, buy something while you're there. Check out this place. If it's your local store, then go find another one that you don't frequent that much, and try to do the same thing. And this year I didn't see that. And I know last year was weird because they did was it free books over the course of 6 months or something?
Yeah, it was terrible.
But again, is what it was. But this year I just didn't see that, and I thought that was odd. Also, we're not in May, which is when it should have been. So maybe that has something to do with it, because everybody's used to being, is it the first Saturday or last Saturday in May?
First Saturday in May. And this year landed in a week where people are going back to school. So people are getting ready. They're focused on other things. They're not like on the cusp of summer like we are in May.
Whose decision is it to do Free Comic Book Day? Is it the distributor, or like who organizes that?
I believe it's Diamond, because Diamond are the ones who sent out the survey last year of what did you guys think of the multi-week spread out of Free Comic Book Summer. And I gave my feedback. I was like, and I said it on the podcast, it was all our subscribers and regulars that picked up the books, which is great, but none of the families who Free Comic Book Day is mainly a hit with, it was like a surprise to them. They just happened to be in the store, and it'd be like, we got free books, and they're like, oh, great. Whereas even this year, as small as Free Comic Book Day was, and it wasn't really small, but compared to other Free Comic Book Days, we still had families that came out for Free Comic Book Day, and they bought some pop or whatever, and got their free books. So yeah, that effect, I think it's Diamond, to answer your question.
Okay, because Free Comic Book Day is, like you said, it's not for the subs. It's not for your regulars. It's for everyone else, the people that don't frequent that often, or the newcomers. Like, your store is in a place where it has other businesses. They see some balloons outside, or they see a stanchion outside. This is free books. You want to grab those passerbys, or if they saw it on social media because they're on Instagram or something, like those people are going to plan that day to come get those free books and hopefully buy something while they're there. It's weird how that works. And like, if Diamond's the one that's behind it, why didn't they push and have a marketing campaign behind it to help the stores that buy the books that keep them in business? I don't know. That's just me, though.
I do think that the artist and writer thing was, as you know, through Twitter and Instagram, everyone's incredibly political right now about the vaccines and whether or not you should go out, and I'm not going to this con or that con. And a lot of these writers and artists that are currently working for the big two do tend to skew more to the left, and a lot of them they'll get flamed completely if they say go out to your comic shop and support your books, because at the same time they're also saying be careful, don't go out, wear your mask and get a vaccine and all this other stuff. So I can see why that happened, where a lot of them were not saying go support your comic shop, because then they'd be saying go out and potentially, according to them, maybe endanger yourself to this disease. So I think that may be why they don't want to tell people to go out there.
Yeah, double standard. I get it.
Yeah,
Like, and there's some that are doing it. Like Jimmy Palmiotti, for example, he was promoting it.
that's
You know,
great.
he was definitely saying like, hey, go get your free books. Please buy something when you visit. Like, and do it safely. You know,
Mhm.
he encompassed all the bullet points. You know, I'm not telling you not to go. Just go, be safe, get a free book, visit, buy something, support your local store. So he's always been great at that. I'm glad that he
Mhm.
continues to promote that.
Good.
I think Tom King had promoted it once or twice, but not as much as we've seen in the past. I'm sorry to hear that it wasn't as good. And yeah, August definitely is not a good time. Back to school is the worst time for this.
Mhm.
MegaCon is a different thing, but just the fact that it's an irregular path on a lot of parents and families' time right now because of the political problems, the masking things, and of course, back to school is a big deal. So
I'm curious if next year we'll go back to May. I think by the time the January catalog comes out, that's when we'll start seeing if Free Comic Book Day books start showing up there. That's when we start doing the pre-orders in advance, and that'll be the biggest hint. But there's a lot to see between now and then as far as what cities are operating, what's the state of things at that time, and but I am glad that we're moving towards a 1 day only or one weekend only, however the shops ended up running it. It was more successful because of that than what ended up happening last year. And as you said, circumstances, they tried something new and it didn't work. So, all right, we do the regular once a year thing and we'll see what happens next year. But you and I also had this huge product, and I don't know about your store's profit margin or anything like that, but I know for us, at least the last couple of months and this month especially, have been profitable for us. And that's just not just in TCG, but in back issues, statues, Funko Pops. It's a collector's market. It's a seller's market. So people are out there still spending money, not quite like they were back when they were getting the stimulus checks, but they are still out there spending money. And a big contributing factor to that is Evolving Skies. And that pre-release, the build and battle kits did come out, and you and I both our stores sell them. And how did yours end up going?
it was wild. I got to work early on Saturday, probably like 10 a.m., and it was already like 30 people outside. Mind you, I don't open till 12, so that was annoying. Then 2 hours later, when I'm ready to open, there had to be close to 100 people outside. So it wasn't a disaster because I had it all planned out how we were going to do it. So it went pretty fast. When that all was done, I probably had maybe 20 kits left,
Mhm.
and then that just milked through the rest of the day and sold out pretty quickly. I ran out by like maybe 3 p.m., 4 p.m. I sold out.
Did you
So
end up doing any limits on them, or you just blew them out?
no, I had a limit. Limit was 6 per
Okay.
person. So I only had a few people that bought 6. I did notice for the amount of people that I saw there, I didn't see that many Poke Bros as I normally saw from the previous sets. And if you've listened to our previous episodes, you can go back and find out what a Poke Bro is. I'm not going to go over it here.
They always have a backwards hat. I'm telling you, man. I noticed that. And I want to take pictures of them, but I'm like, I can't do that. But they
And
always have a backwards hat. I don't get it.
that or gym shorts or joggers, and they just go straight
Yes.
to the section and they stare at it, and it's like
Yes.
they act like they're big money. They're flexing.
Well, they always, and the thing I don't get, and maybe they're just looking, and I don't know, maybe I look that same way when I look at product. I have no idea. But because I'm on the other side of the counter, it's like I've seen the same guy the last 3-4 days, and I already have his pack ready because I know I'm limiting him to one per person per day.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make them last. And probably by the end of the weekend, they'll be gone. But the same guy will come in and like kind of stare up at the thing, like they're contemplating something or like they're surprised they're there. And it's like, I got it right here. It's $37.44 after tax. Let's just ring this up, man.
Yeah, because I know exactly what you mean. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
going to act different today because I don't want to seem like that guy. Well, you know what? You are that guy.
Yes. It's even worse that they're trying. It's like we don't remember or something.
Yeah, when I see that, I just push them along quicker. Like, stop acting.
Yeah. Or when they send in their girlfriend who's like, you guys got Evolving Skies. Oh, like they're a brand new customer. It's like, no, I know your boyfriend was just here 2 minutes ago. I saw him. I have a parking lot right there. I can look. He came out of that car. I don't care. Here, $37.44.
Yep, I do that too. I push them on the spot. I don't care. They want to act weird, I'm going to throw it right back at them.
That's funny.
Yeah, I had 250 kits, so I just limited to 6 per person, and that worked out fine. Everybody got their stuff. I held aside a few just in case. a couple of my actual players wanted some,
Mhm.
and they did. There was one couple that was out of town. They came by on Monday, and I was able to give them out of that stash, so they were happy. And I had one little kid that came in. He was literally about to cry when we didn't have any, so pulled it out of the stash and made his day. So my stash is now empty. I emptied the stash on Tuesday, but I only held aside like maybe 8 just in case, and it worked out well. I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, I can see that for your store where you're going to run out in within a day or two. For mine, it's been like, we released these on Saturday, so it's been almost a week at this point. So I'm like, okay, if you didn't get it by now, you weren't trying, at least for mine.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't even last that long, so. And the only reason why I did is because I held those aside on purpose. So
Yeah.
it's just I've done so many of these. I know some people that I'm used to seeing every single time, and they didn't come. So I just said, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me put this aside. Sure enough, it worked out. So I'm glad I had that rapport with my players because I know you do with your players as well because they'll keep coming back, and that's the players we want. We want our players that always come and hang out with us because they're staples in our community, and that's what's important.
Well, it's been a little more unfortunate on my end because I haven't seen, like, there's Chris R who comes by every now and again, but the other Pokemon players that were a part of League, I haven't seen them since we reopened, and it seems like I know one guy traded in all his cards to my store. Like he was like, I'm getting out of it. And the thing is, a lot of them were, I had families, so a lot of kids got out of it, oddly enough. Because I know kids got into it after, all the YouTubers started opening packs, but people that were already in the thing were like, I kind of outgrew it after a period. And so that's the unfortunate thing. And sometimes the kids will get back into it, but sometimes they won't. And I honestly have not seen the player base return on my end.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when this all comes back, probably sometime next year or whenever at this point, who knows. Pokemon Company is gonna have to have a very giant, elaborate, and expensive campaign rollout to reel in some of these players back. And it's not necessarily the adults that they're after; they need to get these kids back. Because Pokemon might be popular, but if they drop the game, that's a whole different story. And they know that; they're well aware of that. So we'll see what happens. In regards to Chris, you mentioned him. I did see him a couple times recently. He said his son is not playing anymore, so he's slowly selling out his cards out. But he's keeping some because he believes that when we get back to playing, that his son will come back and play. So there's that. Hopefully he'll be back in your store playing soon.
Yeah, I think a lot of that will depend on when Pokemon, as you mentioned, starts sanctioning events and maybe throws in some cool promos that'll get them excited again, and hopefully not just the Poke Bros who, where you make it where you have to earn it by playing the game, and the eBayers and speculators and scalpers and all them, they're not gonna. Some will try, but most of them are not gonna go through that effort. But
when the events come back, the Pokebros will go back into the shadows. They'll find something else to worry about because they'll realize they won't be able to get the cool stuff anymore. So
they'll move on to the next thing. Absolutely right. The other thing in the Brocat block that's been going on this week is I was waiting for the TeePublic sale to kick off the next one, and as soon as it did, which was on Wednesday, I put up a new design. It went up on Patreon. I tweeted it out as well, and it went up on Instagram stories. And it's a VHS-inspired design. I was looking at some of the old VHS blank tapes. I don't know if you remember those that you used to buy, and you'd record your programs on there. Some of the younger Brocat out there will be like, I don't know what is that, an 8-track? And I'm like, how do you know what 8-track is? And you don't know what a VHS is.
Yeah.
So I was looking at those old designs, and I had like I'm like, all right, let me try to make something that's VHS-like. And I took some of the elements that were from those old tapes, and I made The Reasons I'm Broke VHS design that is up now on TeePublic, and it is on sale. And if not, usually TeePublic does 2 to 3 weekend sales a month, so you can usually get a t-shirt for $14 off of there as opposed to the usual 21, I think. And if you're like, I have plenty of t-shirts, we have it on mugs, masks, we have it on sweaters, and there's like wall art that you can print your stuff on. You've got phone cases, and we have more designs than just this one. There's like ones from other curated designers. There's the Vegeta one. There's the Golden Girls one that you had sent over with the TMNT design on there. The Fresh Prince of All Saiyans, I think is what it was, or something.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's some good stuff on there, and it's up on thereasonsimbroke.com. You click on the pull down menu and click on merch, and it'll take you right to our TeePublic store. But I'm pretty happy with the VHS design. There's 3 more that are finished that I haven't released yet, but I'm kind of waiting till, later on in the year. Maybe I'll release one more before the year's over. And then the next 2, I've got one for next summer that I just finished, and it's like a summer beach design type of thing. So I've got that one that'll go up next year, and I'm really proud of that one. But otherwise, this VHS one's been done for like half a year, but I had those international Brokehead Core flag designs up that are up now for our top 5 most listened countries for the podcast, and slowly rolling these out. It's good to have a backlog. I always end up getting these ideas, and I'm a creative person by nature, so I run with it, and once inspiration hits, I start working on it. Then I sit on it for a few days. I come back to it, and I'm like, okay, I can fix this. So I'm not the most proficient at Photoshop, but the little bit that I can do, I get excited. I put it up on the TeePublic inactive designs, and then I publish them when it's ready. So I hope you all like the new VHS design, but if you don't, there's plenty of others on TeePublic as well. Outside of that, do you have anything else for the Brokehead Block, Bobby, that you wanted to discuss? I know last week Scott and I had talked about the Podcast Awards nomination, which is great. It was a pretty exciting time, and we'll see what happens in September. But anything else before we wrap up this week's episode?
Yeah, getting nominated for the Podcast Awards was amazing. Hopefully we can pull through and get the 2-timer. And that goes out to all our Brokettes that listen to us each week, or you, or any of the other co-hosts that are on this show, including the Palpa Kelly. So thank you, Brokettes, for your continued support. This is pretty cool being a part of this. I can say that as being in a co-host chair. I think it's pretty cool to be a part of this. And even before that, just as a listener, I thought it was pretty cool that a podcast that I regularly listen to weekly is recognized year after year for being in the top echelon of podcasting for games and hobbies. It's pretty cool, and we've got a win already, so that's even better. So we've been there, so we can get back to the finish line again. As far as what else I've been doing, I've been playing a lot of games recently. I finished Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart on the PS5 finally. I kind of went back and forth on it because I'm playing so many different things, and I was able to finish it. I got the platinum. It's a very short game.
Yeah, that's what Scott was saying. Yeah,
it is very short. However, that aside, that's definitely going to be on the docket this year for Game of the Year. It's going to be in that conversation. It's going to be nominated for that. It's gorgeous. It flows really well. The story's really good. You get attached to the characters. They have meaning. There's very good character development. So even though it was short, there's a really good story there. I was surprised at how well they catered to that story. They did really good on that. And it's just gorgeous. The gameplay was awesome, not difficult at all. Compared to other Ratchet and Clanks, there were some difficult moments in those games. This one was pretty straightforward, so it's interesting as a PS5 title. I'm playing The Ascent on Xbox One X, Series 1X, sorry. I have got that on Game Pass. It's pretty cool. It's a Cyberpunk / Diablo. So it's a top-down fighter.
Maybe we don't want to compare Cyberpunk to anything.
That's fair.
These days.
Or Diablo, for that matter. Both those companies.
Oh yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest.
Oh,
but
man, that's a double whammy there.
dead in the water. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's a really cool game. So if you have a Series 1X and have Game Pass, or Series 1S, go ahead and check that out. I recommend The Ascent. It's a pretty cool game. The other thing I'm playing on Switch, I've been playing Skyward Sword, taking slow little jabs at that. I'm enjoying it. It's not the best game. It was ruined for me on the Wii U. I'm sorry, on the Wii. Back in the day, I didn't like it because of the motion controls. This version, the HD, does allow you to play with a controller without using motion. So I'm taking my time and I'm playing it. I'm enjoying it. It does have some dull moments. The story's a little hollow. What I'll compare it to is Wind Waker, but not in the ocean, in the sky. That's
Gotcha.
essentially what it is. The boat is replaced with a bird, and you've got sky temples, and you have to go from this. You have to traverse from the sky down to the ground level. That's about it. And then what's the other thing I'm playing? Oh, I just started Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, very divisive title.
That game there, I know now. I got to the point, and I'm not going to spoil here, but I got to the point why so many people were either split on that title for either not liking it or really liking it. I see all the criticism now. That plot point, which I really want to divulge and I can't. Holy shit. Holy shit. There's a very important plot point in the beginning of that game. That's if you played the first one, you definitely need to play the second one. I'll leave it at that. I recommend it. It's a very good game. Very good stealth enhancement in that game as well, this title. And this past week, the free DLC for Avengers came out for Battle for Wakanda. You get Black Panther and story content for Wakanda, so I've been playing through that. I'm enjoying it. I know everybody hates that game. Fine. Continue to hate it. I'm enjoying it. They've made a lot of improvements to it. It's not completely fixed. It's been a year, almost. It's still not fixed, but you know what? I'm enjoying it. It's fine.
Yeah, as long as you're liking it. I know I see you streaming it every now and again. You were streaming it today, and I was like, I don't want to watch that.
I'm not going to say it's amazing, because it's not. And it's not. I play it in little chunks. I log in every week to get the free item, and I'll get a level on a character or something. I'm still trying to platinum it. I think that's my goal. Mm-hmm. I'm going to platinum it, and then hopefully by that time it's fixed. It definitely has its issues. There's no argument about that. So, like Maceo said, I'm going to die on that hill, and I guess
apparently, yeah.
It has some elements that I enjoy. It's a very good open world type of playing with your superhero character. They're all unique. They all have their different abilities. They're not copy and paste at all. Mm-hmm. For anybody that hasn't played it, those characters are not copy and pasted. They all have unique abilities and moves and different roles. Like some are healers, some are tanks, some are damage dealers, some are support. Hulk's a tank. Everybody thinks Hulk's a damage dealer. He's not. He's a tank. So when you're in a party, you got to fulfill that tank role, and that's a surprise for some people that just want to go crush stuff. You'll die immediately. I found that out real quick. You'll die real quick. I've just been bouncing around. In Final Fantasy 14, I play that like every day. But
Scott plays that like crazy.
Yeah, he's on Scott, you are on a mission and Julian and I have both warned you, you're not going to get platinum. Good luck. Actually, you will, but it's going to take you a very long time.
He's got time. I that's all he's been playing. I know he hasn't gotten as many hours at work, so he's just been playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, there's some of those trophies are absurd. The things that you have to do, and they're the things that Julian and I don't play that game for. So Scott, if you get it, more power to you.
Right.
That's not something I'm going to do. But yeah, he plays a lot. I play it, but not as much. To be fair, he's catching up on story because he's behind. He's just picking the game back up. So, whereas I've been playing it for over 10 years. So I just log in, do a couple things, and move on. We got Shadowbringers coming out. I'm sorry, Endwalker coming out at the end of this year. So we'll see what happens.
I've actually I picked up a game. Actually, I started playing something. It was the new Phoenix Wright that came out. The Great Ace Attorney, I think is what they titled it.
I've heard so much about that.
I was pleasantly surprised that it's still like a regular Phoenix Wright game. I was not that I should have been worried at all, but I know that it went more into the 3D animation for the characters.
Yep.
So I was a little concerned, but when I started playing it, at first it was a little bit jarring, but then it has the same type of movement. It still looks like an anime video game hybrid, and they have it's got great humor. Like that's what I love about it. It's got amazing humor. So I'm liking the first case so far. It's very easy, just like it's a tutorial basically, and then we go into the crazy things. It's got this weird mode, and I don't know if they did it with the last title, but where if you just want to watch the story, it basically you hit play on the menu, and it will skip all of the okay, choose this or choose that item or interrogate them. It'll just go through the trial itself, so you can kind of see it.
Yeah,
and
I heard about that too.
Obviously, it takes the fun out of it for me, but for anyone that just wants to see the case play out, then I can sort of see where that would be useful. Or if you don't want to look up a guide and you're like, well, I'm really stuck on this thing, and I know I've gotten stuck on Phoenix Wright games in the past, that could be a way to be like, okay, well, this is easy mode, skip it. And I haven't done it yet because, again, I'm on the first case, but it's just neat that the different options they added make it more accessible for players out there. And I was able to get the physical copy, which I'm happy about. I like my physical games and books and movies, so it's one that I was happy that they ended up doing a physical release for, because I honestly wasn't expecting it.
And that's a double, right? There's two games in one.
There should be, yeah. On the menu, it only showed one, like you just start playing, but I don't know if they just merged them as you play the game.
Okay. And then there's who's the other character? Herlock Sholmes?
Yeah.
Is in there.
Yeah, I haven't ran into him yet, but I'm sure I will. And there's also like the Edgeworth of that time era, so I'm sure I'll run into that prosecutor soon and have to show him what's what, but maybe he'll have the same moral compass as Edgeworth, where I don't know if you played the older ones, but even though he was your opponent, he half helped you because he also wants the truth. He doesn't want to defend liars.
That's
It's
awesome.
good stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And the last thing I'm getting prepared for, and this is for you and I doing this episode next week, but we're gonna do a Patreon first retrospective visit on as voted on Patreon, The Prestige. We had a couple of Chris Nolan films up on the poll, and the Patreon backers were able to vote, and they influenced the show. That's another neat way to, if you're a Patreon backer, you can influence what episodes or what content we cover, and this is another example of it. We're going to be covering, as voted on, The Prestige by Chris Nolan, so I'm getting ready to rewatch that. I'm going to look up some trivia, and then we'll release that on Patreon first, and then a month later, it'll go up publicly on podcatchers. So I'm getting that Blu-ray from, I thought I owned it, but it's at my parents' house, so it's either my siblings or it's theirs, or I just left it there. But I'm gonna go get that, and then I'm gonna bring it home, watch it, enjoy it. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to doing that episode with you.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I enjoyed that movie. I remember watching it and being surprised at how that movie unfolded. There's a nice little trick in that movie, so to speak, cliche.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's a magic trick on its own as well.
Yep.
It's got all of that in there. But outside of that, I think that wraps up the Brocat block and the rest of the podcast for us this week. I do want to remind everyone, please check out our Discord lounge. So this week, if you click on over to our description of this episode right now, or if you head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, go all the way to the bottom, you will see a Discord link. And this is where you will find most of the co-hosts that you hear here every single week. And you can ask us questions. You can talk about, we were talking about the Field of Dreams game earlier, Maceo and I, and gaming and the Snyder Cut and whatever it else may be. If you want to drop a meme, or if you like not safe for work content, we've got a special section there on the Discord for that too. And that's on our description of today's episode.
Come to the Discord
and
tell me how bad Avengers is and shit all over it. I'll enjoy
it. All right. That's one way to get people on Discord, that's for sure.
And I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about the game.
Oh, well, that too.
Maceo does it enough. I need somebody else to talk shit about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We need to do an episode with both of you on again and just have you talk about that game.
I'll praise it and he could dump it. Praise it, dump it.
But where can the Brocat Core member on the other side find you, Bobby?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm always lurking on Twitter. I check it daily. I read through it. I'm not active as much as far as interacting, but if you reach out to me or tag me in something, I'll see it. I'll respond. If you got a question, same thing, I'll respond. Or you can come to our Discord. On Twitter, I'm Cuban Slim. It's with a Q, BANSLIM. Always been there. I've been there for 6 or 7 years now, but on Twitter. So that's the easiest place if you're on Twitter. Or if you join our Discord lounge, I'm on there as well. So ask questions, interact. Danny was talking about our, we also have a collector channel in there. We like to share collectibles. So that's a really good place to show that stuff off. So if you're a collector out there and you're listening to this podcast, join it just for that. You can mute all the other channels if you don't. There's a lot of people don't want to be in Discords because of the constant pinging. Just mute all the channels. And then, keep the collector one open and share collectibles, and we can have conversations there. That works too, But yeah, it can be fun on Twitter, and just reach out to me.
Perfect. That's great. And there will also be links to Bobby's Twitter on the description of today's episode, along with the Discord, as we mentioned earlier today. But otherwise, Bobby, I want to thank you again for being a part of our now 2021 Podcast Award nominated show and for being a part of the co-host chair. So thank you again for joining me this week.
Of course. Pleasure. Always fun to be here and glad to speak out to our broquettes, and hopefully we can engage in some more conversations. For all of you listening, recommend this podcast to somebody else and just start it off with like, hey, do you collect this something, right? Like, here, listen to this. And mention the Podcast Awards. Like, we've been nominated. We've won once. We're going to try to win again. So we have fun what we do, and we love doing it. So you can interact with us and share your ideas with us, what you want us to talk about, ask questions, and we'll share it here. So fun times.
I tweeted it out earlier last week that according to Libsyn, which is the podcast distributor that I use, and I listen to their podcast, and they're one of the biggest podcast distributors out there. But they were saying that over the last 90 days, there's been the most amount of pod fading among podcasts. And basically that means that no new episodes published over the last 90 days. And that's reached an all-time high. So less podcasts out there are publishing, and they say that it's a product of COVID, where basically people started podcasts during the closures, and then they found that either they couldn't make money off of it right away. It wasn't like YouTube where it just blew up. It's they realized that it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. You're in it for the long run. You're in it. You build listenership over a long period of time. It's not instant. It's not an instant spike. So. Or people found that it's not what they wanted to do, or it's not fun, or it goes a lot of work goes into a podcast. So it's not like a live show that you just put out, or you can, but the content's not going to be great, in my opinion, at least. I go through and I edit and I put it through Alphonic, which helps with the audio levels. So I like to clean it up because I've listened to podcasts for years and I know what I like out of a podcast. So I try to bring as much of that into the show as well. So I'm proud to say this, and I don't know, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm proud that it's been a weekly show since 2012. So if you're discovering this after, your previous favorite podcast stopped publishing over the last couple of months, we're here, and we're happy to be here every week and publishing still since 2012. We're going to hit a decade next year, and I'm excited to do some special stuff for that next year, and maybe a logo refresher with a little 10 somewhere in there, get something new going. But we'll one day at a time, 1 week at a time. But if you just joined us this week, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Or if you've been there with us since 2012, thank you again for joining us this week. I've been Daniel once again, and Brocat Core, all will be well. Do they have unlockable costumes in the Marvel Avengers game?
Yes.
Do they have your favorite Marvel movie, Ragnarok? Do they have the ass out Hulk skin? And if they didn't, if they made it available, would you use it? And be honest.
All right, so it is in the game, and they do have it, and I got it as soon as they released it. It did not release with launch. It released like a couple months later. The good news is, with the amount of currency they give you when you bought the game, when you get the game and you play and earn, by the time that came out, I had free in-game currency to buy it. So yes, I have the World War Hulk or Planet Hulk skin. So he walks around with all his ass out glory in my game, and I enjoy it, Maceo. I don't care what you say.
I was half joking, but holy shit, they put it in there.
It is in there. There's two versions. There's one that's like a gray version from like original.
Yeah.
And then the one from that kind of mimics Ragnarok, but it's not. It's more of the comic version from Greg Pak, World War Hulk, Planet Hulk, and that's what they used. So it's like a rusted gold with the red flume on top. Armor's similar, but it's not the same. But that's my favorite version of Hulk, and the armor's there. So,
and apparently the ass is there too.
It's ass, cheeks, and glory. Julian, just for you.
Yeah, nothing compared to Julian's though. He's got the buck hem for a reason every week.
Either that or Nightwing.
That's true. Yeah. That's a whole episode right there. If you compare like Julian's and then Nightwings and then the Planet Hulks, it's like, all right, well, we got to debate this. And I think everyone would. Yeah, you'd clearly be on Hulks. I might be on Julian's. Maybe you'd be on Nightwings. I don't know. It's a tough decision right there. But I've already made my decision though. Julian, I got your back.
So we're gonna have an ass retrospective episode.
That's right.